Never before has the International Criminal Court heard such a long list of guilty verdicts, and never before were the crimes this gruesome.
Attacks against the civilian population, murder, attempted murder, torture, enslavement, outrages upon personal dignity, pillaging, destruction of property and persecution.
Numerous psychiatrists looked into Ongwen's personality. He was described as a monster by some witnesses. After he was kidnapped at the age of 9 by the Lord Resistance Army, or the LRA, he spent nearly 3 decades in the bush. The atrocities he has been convicted of include sex crimes that took place when he was in his 20s. The judges decided that he was mentally able and fully responsible for his crimes. With this verdict, the judges have given a clear and firm answer to the question of whether Dominic Ongwen is a perpetrator or victim. This question has haunted the trial for the last 5 years. The seemingly endless list of crimes that Ongwen has been convicted of were hard to digest for some. But observers say that this sentence will send a harsh message to all those who, against their will, have become involved in a war at a young age. Ongwen's lawyer calls the verdict a bombshell.
This concept of victim-perpetrator, to me, is rubbish. Once a victim, always a victim. You have deprived me of my childhood. How do you expect me to, after 15 years, on the stroke of midnight, begin thinking like an adult?
I felt relieved. I felt like, yes, this has come true.
Daniel Osen believes Ongwen was fully aware of what he did. He was shot by the LRA and became an orphaned refugee at the age of 6.
The bullet passed through my lower back. That is the pain I feel. And if he cannot be in position to realize that he was making a mistake at a given point in time, even if you are brainwashed, we believe there's that human conscience that tells you this is not right.
Observers who have followed the trial closely say there was a lot at stake for the ICC.
This is their first case, and today is the first judgment in the case of Uganda. And they needed somebody to carry the can, perhaps for all the atrocities by the entire Lord's Resistance Army. So he's become the face of evil.
The maximum sentence Ongwen is facing is 30 years in prison. Only in cases of genocide can the ICC impose a life sentence. It will take months before Ongwen knows what the sentence will be. Step Fasen, Al Jazeera, The Hague.
Madam President.
Congolese ex-rebel leader Jean-Pierre Bemba has been jailed for 18 years by the International Criminal Court in a landmark ruling for war crimes and sexual violence. Bemba, whose trial opened November 2010, was found guilty of 5 charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity. In March, he was convicted by the International Criminal Court for failing to stop his rebels from killing and raping people in the Central African Republic. The 3 judges agreed with the prosecution that Bemba had retained effective command and control over 1,500 men he sent into the CAR to quell an attempted coup against the then president. Bemba's Congolese liberation movement is said to have carried out a brutal series of rapes and murders, which experts say will have long-term traumatic effects on the people of CAR. His trial is the first time the ICC has focused on rape as a weapon of war, and the first time a suspect has been convicted of crimes which have been committed by others under his command.
Just like a businessman, a former warlord is about to be sentenced. Found guilty in July on 18 charges brought against him, Bosco Ntaganda will spend 3 decades behind bars.
For rape of civilians as a crime against humanity and as a war crime, 28 years. For murder and attempted murder as a crime against humanity and as a war crime, 30 years. For persecution as a crime against humanity, 30 years of imprisonment.
It's the longest sentence handed down by the International Criminal Court since it was set up in 2002. Ntaganda and his legal advisors are already appealing the conviction. His crimes date back to when he was one of the leading militiamen for the Union of Congolese Patriots. He fought in the mineral-rich eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo between 2002 and 2003. Hundreds of people were killed and thousands displaced. The presiding judge in The Hague said Ntaganda was not only guilty of crimes against humanity, but he'd also personally murdered a Catholic priest. Other crimes included rape, conscripting child soldiers, and sexual enslavement. Nicknamed the Terminator after a Hollywood character, he won't be returning soon to the Congo. Conflict has blighted Africa's Great Lakes region for decades. Ntaganda surrendered to UN peacekeepers in March after fighting both as a rebel and a government soldier on both sides of the Rwanda-Congo border. The Congolese town of Bunia has often been in the firing line between rival ethnic and militia groups.
We have no idea how many people were killed in the fighting, but here we're burying 2 people.
UN troops have only had limited success in defending civilians in Africa. With Ntaganda's conviction, the International Criminal Court is hoping to send a message to many warring factions in other conflicts too. Yolo Abdavith, TRT World.